welcome to another What If series. With me, as always, Han. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Rob. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Um, so today we're going to talk about what if Hitler had scrapped the V1, scrapped the V2, and just focused on jet fighters instead of a million other small projects and just threw everything behind jets. Would that have changed the war? What do you think?
I definitely think it would have, because instead of going with a pretty random thing, I mean, the V1s and V2s, they could kind of generally get them somewhere. Whereas if you have a squadron of jets, then you have pinpoint firepower and accuracy to actually do damage on exactly what you want to do
Yeah,
damage on, instead of like hurling a rock over a wall and hoping it hits somebody in the head that possibly is behind the wall.
yeah.
Then, I mean, yeah, they were a terror weapon, but at the same time, a squadron of jets that nobody had anything to counteract. To me, it would
Oh, they
almost
did.
be more of a terrifying weapon
Yeah.
than the
Okay, let's say
rockets.
even 44, early 44, the Germans have full jet capability and they have 6 or 8 squadrons of jet fighters. The air war no longer is in the balance of the Allies.
Yeah,
Because if you have Spitfires and Mustangs versus full on jet fighters, and I don't even mean the rocket jet that goes up and then glides down. That was a
yeah, like a
God bless
legitimate,
those men for being brave, but
like a
Jesus, a
legitimate
legitimate jet fighter
jet plane. Yeah, jet fighter. Yeah,
versus propellered planes, that doesn't end well. And the Allies didn't have shit to put against that in 44. So if
no,
you
and
get, if
because with
you're,
the Jets have the whole run and gun thing on their side,
yeah,
because we have nothing that can keep up with them, and most jets, can go to a higher altitude. So it's like, okay, go down, raise hell. Whoop! You can't
yeah,
get us. You can't get us. We're up
yeah.
here.
We're
Uh,
up here, you're down there. Bye
and,
bye.
and even think of like the bombing raids. The massive bombing raids. Drop in, pick some bombers off, sit back out. Drop. It
Yeah,
would be
and
like,
not only that, but the response time of a jet compared to a
oh
regular air
yeah,
squadron,
yeah. When they
right? So when
when
they
they see
scramble
them,
the Luftwaffe,
they could have met them
yeah,
over the channel.
yeah,
As soon as they saw them leaving England, they could have met them over the channel before they even had a chance to get to their targets.
yeah. Like it changes the entire dynamic. If the Luftwaffe is, we'll say, if by 44 they could have made the Luftwaffe 60% jet, if that would have been the goal, to have the Luftwaffe 60% jet fighter by 44, there's nothing the Allies could have put
Yeah,
up against
because
that.
you lose. You not only you lose air superiority, but the side of that is you lose control of the channel,
Yeah.
which you have to have to funnel
Mm-hmm.
in, you know, D-Day and funnel in the troops and
Yeah.
supplies and keep them, even if they had managed to pull off D-Day, they wouldn't have been able to keep the supplies coming. So basically, everything would have run dry, and you'd have
Yeah.
had
I
all
mean,
these men and machines just stuck there.
yeah, you have a Luftwaffe that is 60% jet powered by 44. The amount of RAF and American bomber squadrons that will, the death rate will skyrocket. to
Yeah,
the point where D-Day may not even be a thing.
yeah, because they would know they could never gain superiority of the channel,
You know,
which is basically the first thing on the list of can we do D-Day?
yeah, can we do D-Day? And then the other thing is, if it's early enough in 44, I mean, we're not even thinking, does the Germans have a jet bomber yet? Do they
Yeah,
have a jet bomber? That changes everything even more. And there were designs, they just never did one. But if they had thrown all of that resources and money and time in behind the jet when it was first introduced to Hitler, instead of him, because jets were proposed to Hitler very early in the war, very early, but he dismissed it because it would have taken too much time. It wasn't an immediately ready weapon. It wasn't
yeah,
immediately ready for the battlefield. It was like a year or two out. In like, oh, great leader! In 2 years, we could have you with these jets, and these jets will revolutionize the war. And Hitler's going, the war's not going to last that long. Go away.
yeah,
And then once it gets that, oh, what about that jet idea?
yeah. By then it was too late.
And by then it's too late,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, um, so
It definitely would have changed all the dynamics.
yeah,
And like you said, the losses between the Americans and the British would have been so high. Okay, well, we can crank out as many planes as fast as we can, but then you have the issue of we have to teach people how to fly these planes because all of our pilots are dead. And even if we do teach them to fly these planes, these propeller planes still can't go against this new jet
yeah,
technology.
yeah. So, I mean, if Germany could have got jet fighters by 43, late 43, early 44, and I don't just mean like one squadron, because that's not really going to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah,
But if you're already starting to replace the Luftwaffe so that by mid 44 you achieve 60% jet fighter to 40% propeller, there's not a lot the Allies are going to do about jets.
yeah,
I mean, flak guns versus jet fighters, that didn't end up going very well after the war. That's why SAM sites were developed. But
yeah,
um, you know, it's a different animal completely. I mean, if yeah, the air war is a complete different, and it affects everything. The air war affects everything. What happens in the air happens on the ground. If it's the reason that Germany could not invade Britain, they didn't have air superiority.
yeah,
The flip side to that is if they manage a 60% jet fighter before the, let's say, tail end of 43 and beginning of 44, you could see the Blitz happen again, as it did
Oh, yeah,
historically, but except instead of it being V1, V2 rockets that are being launched at Britain, it would be the Luftwaffe take two, but this time they have jets.
yeah. And you really have no good countermeasures, so they basically can just run free
Yeah,
reign and level England.
yeah.
And then
Especially if they have a jet bomber. If
that's
they have a
that,
jet bomber by late 43, early 44.
that's what I was getting ready to say is, of course, the next thing after the jet fighter is going to be a jet bomber, and once they see how great the jet fighter is,
Yeah,
I'm sure they're automatically going to go to the drawing board and ramp up a jet bomber,
yeah,
which then totally again changes the dynamic,
yeah,
and it basically traps all the allies in England with no way to counteract this new technology.
Yeah, and then unlike the V1s, the way the Allies took those out was they just found the launching sites and then bombed them into
Yeah,
oblivion. Um, the V2 was a little harder because that was a really mobile launch type of system.
yeah.
So you could
You could
launch that off the
yeah.
back of a truck in the middle of the bush.
You can duck and hide and hide it better
Yeah,
and kind of play hide and seek with it to where it wasn't as
yeah.
easy to hit.
But the V1 they couldn't. The V1 had this big long rampy thing,
Yeah,
and it was rather hard to hide those launching sites. V2 was a little bit easier, but again, you have to produce them. They're hard to produce. They're dangerous to launch. Because I mean, a lot of those V2s just kind of blew up on the tarmac. But
yeah. I've seen a lot of those old videos where they
yeah,
just
up and boom, or the ones that go up and then fall over and go boom.
yeah
But if you channeled all that resources into jet fighters when it's first brought to Hitler, and I think it was first brought to Hitler in late 39, early 40, 41, somewhere in there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was really early in the war.
yeah. So
And if
and
he hadn't dismissed it at that point,
yeah, then by 43 ish,
43,
they
40,
could have
early 44, we're talking Luftwaffe with jet fighters,
yeah
and not just one or two squadrons, like almost.
up and operational. That would have given them plenty of time to get squadrons and squadrons of these things operational.
Yeah,
And then, like you said, while that's going on, it only makes sense that the project that's going on right behind it is jet bombers.
yeah,
So then, they're going to take what they learned from the development of the jet fighter, and a lot of that's going to translate
yeah,
to a jet bomber. So that already takes care of part of your whole drawing board with the jet bomber is okay, we learned this from the fighters. How much of this can we take into quickly producing a jet bomber?
yeah,
So if by the time it's 60% jet fighter squadrons, how many jet bombers do they have
yeah,
by then? Because
yeah.
it's
Like I
not going
said,
to take long for them to realize.
if they had learned, if they had realized the potential at the start when it's first brought to Hitler, and he goes, yes, throw everything behind it, like he did with the submarines later on in the war, and they just start pumping out jet fighters left,
Yeah.
right, and center. And then if they can find a design that works, and then just mass produce that, and not fall into the
Yeah.
trap that they fell in with everything else that they built, which was they build one and then they build three different ones,
Yeah.
and then try to produce four different versions all at the same time, i.e., Panzer III, Panzer IV, Panther, and Tiger.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been that would have been the two main keys would be he get on board with that project and then not screw with it. Let him get a really good design and just mass produce the hell out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, that's what bogged them down in tank production was they had the Panzer III, the Panzer IV, then the Panther, then the Tiger, then the King Tiger. Well, there's only so many plants and there's only so many material, and you're
Yeah.
expendituring them over four different tank versions, and then eventually, it just runs out. So if they were to come upon a good jet fighter that checked all the boxes, got everything done, and then just mass produce the shit out of it, start mass production by early 43, have say 50% of the Luftwaffe done by 44, that changes the air war drastically.
Oh yeah, it would to me it would totally change the outcome of the war. Period.
Yeah,
Because as we've talked about before, the main goal at the start of all this of being able to enter the war in Europe was air superiority, because you had to get over there, and if you can't protect your people on the ground or on boats, then you're screwed. You're basically
yeah,
stuck in England with no way to get over there without everybody just being blasted to bits. And you can't keep a steady supply chain open
no,
at all.
and I
If
mean
you could even
the
get over there to start with.
jets. I mean the Luftwaffe wreaked havoc on the on the convoys going up to Russia as it was. Never mind if they have jet power now. Jets would have revolutionized the war. And then it would have forced the Allies to do the same.
And they're very late to the party at that point.
Yeah.
Once they end up face to face with this new weapon, they're playing catch up. And could
Well,
they play
and
catch up
historically, I mean, this is the crazy part. Historically, late 45, a submarine is sent to Japan with jet engines and the specs and the designs for the jet fighter. It's sent to Japan. So now if you were to do that early 43,
Yeah. Then the whole dynamic not only changes in Europe, it changes in the
it
Pacific
changes
as
in
well.
the Pacific.
Yeah.
If the Japanese now have jet fighters by 43, oh, it's a whole new problem.
Yeah. On both fronts for the Americans, it's a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, they'd have to solve the whole jet fighter landing on an aircraft carrier problem, but,
Yeah.
you know, when have the Japanese ever worried about, fatalities and testing?
Yeah.
Uh,
Or towards the end of the war, when did they worry about landing at all? Unless it was
yeah,
into
land? I don't
something-
need to land no stinking plane.
unless it was into something else.
Yeah. Just point and land. Well, where am I landing? There's no landing strip. Aim and land, dude. Aim and land.
At the very least, it would have greatly stretched out the length
Yeah.
of the war, and at the worst, it would have became Nazi Europe,
Yeah.
and we would have been beat back by the Japanese.
I mean, the if you think about it, D-Day was already everybody's holding their breath because there was a lot of people in the higher ups who did not expect this to go well. They were expecting a Dieppe kind of reaction. And I mean, certain people, they had a speech for if this goes right and a speech for if this goes wrong already prepared. Churchill was scared shitless that this was going to go insane. And I mean, now if you have the possibility of being intercepted by jets, I don't even know if D-Day gets off the ground.
I don't think it would have, because they would know they're never going to make it across. In my opinion, they would know it would be fruitless to even try to make it across.
Yeah, because you're not going to have air superiority at all. Just the bare numbers of fighters and bombers you're going to have to go into D-Day are going to be less, just on the fact that more would have already been taken out of the air in their bombing raids. The bombing raid campaign would have failed abysmally because they would have had more losses.
Yeah. Which means the Germans also keep more infrastructure to keep
more infrastructure.
To keep cranking out more jets and jet bombers, jet fighters, and jet bombers.
If somebody would have tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Pick a tank and build it."
Yeah. that would have also helped.
That might have helped a little bit. But again, yeah, I think jet fighters would have revolutionized the war. I'm not saying that it's 100% Germans win. It's not one of those where it's like, well, if they have this, we lose. But it makes winning a whole nother ball game.
It makes it way longer and way more costly.
Yeah.
You know, to win the war then for the Allies.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, I think we've flushed this topic out pretty well. In the comment section, if there's a what if that you would like to see us cover, please do put it in the in the bottom. Remember to try to keep it somewhat on historical things. So, not so much what if Jean-Luc Picard would have had the Enterprise E for all of TNG, more historical stuff. But if there's a what if that you'd like us to cover, by all means, throw it in the comment section. I'll be sure to run it by Han, and I'm pretty sure we'll do it. These are just our little fun brain exercises once a week to, make the fire department on standby. And have a little bit of fun and look at, well, what would have happened if you change this thing? And what other strings do you have to pull then if you unravel this one?
Well, because it's like a little snowball starting down the hill.
Yeah.
And it gets bigger and bigger. It's like,
yeah,
okay, well, this little change changes this. But then there's like 80 other things.
Yeah. One little thing that you would just go, well, it just means that they air. Yeah, but then it also means, does DA happen? Does it mean, this happen? Et cetera, et cetera. So, as always, this has been fun, Han. I'll let you pimp out your channel, as it were, and we'll wrap this up.
Everybody, I'm Honstar, youtube.com/Honstar. I do fun Tuesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, fun streams. We do Jackbox Game Night. We do Name That Tune. They kind of rotate between weeks. So the main thing you need to know is if you show up on my channel 11 p.m. Eastern on the Tuesday night, we're doing something fun, a fun live stream. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at HonstarYT.
Awesome. All right. And as always, folks, you can find me here, Rambling Canuck, or on Twitter, Rambling_Canuck. We do karaoke. I'm starting to bring back some of the old shows. Live streams on History with R&Rs are on Mondays. Sometimes the time changes because it depends on when we can get the guest in. And then karaoke's are always Saturdays at 9:05 Central because I'll be late to my own funeral.
That's kind of like my streams, like Name That Tune. It's like, I don't think we've ever started one on time. There's
I always book it for 9:05 now just to be a jackass. And then I'll start at 9:06 just because. But again, thank you all. And if you hear background noise during the recording, it's unpreventable. I've got my brother's my brother and my son's younger brother here, so they're off in the other room, but you probably heard them throughout the recording, and, well, not much I can do about it. Sorry about that, folks.
I didn't really I heard a little bit of background noise, but not much. It wasn't much.
Yeah. Not much you can do about it. But at any rate, take her easy, folks, and have a good one.